My very first guest of the new season is viral rap sensation YelloPain.
First thing first, you know back in middle school when they taught us, it was 3 branches of the government. We forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor or the governor and the president.
What I love about YelloPain is he is a young rapper. I would actually call him more of a poet and spoken word artist who happens to also rap. The wisdom that he has and the insights that he shares in his songs are way beyond his age.
My old rap name wasn't as cool, right? So I needed a name to represent the type of music I make. And the music I make I think it's pretty enjoyable, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I put a lot of my life story and my pain into it, but you don't listen to it to cry, you know what I mean? You listen to it for joy. And yellow is a color that represents happiness. And pain represents everything I've ever been through. So YelloPain is a happy representation of my pain. Basically just meaning stay strong no matter what.
Go and follow YelloPain on Instagram at YelloPain, YelloPain. And of course, follow me on Instagram at the Allison Kugel. But of course, so sit back, relax, and listen to my amazing conversation with YelloPain. So I just finished watching your documentary, Simplified.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Can I just tell you, I'm 48, okay? And from watching your documentary, I realized that I've been brainwashed and socially conditioned my whole life to think that the presidential election is the most important election.
Yeah.
So if you could I want to let you talk a little bit about that and what kind of research and what kind of studying did you do personally to kind of figure out, wait a second, it's the Congress where bills are created, where senators and the House of Representatives vote, where things are voted into law. What made you really make that connection and want to teach that?
So it all started off, my cousin was running for Congress and she asked me, to make a song about voting. And I turned it down because, I was just like everybody else. I participated in the system. I voted for Obama. Nothing happened in my life. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where it started. And I think what really happened was when she asked me the things like, what are some stuff you want to see changed? And I started to name the things I wanted to see changed. And she combated everything that I wanted to see changed with a person. And she started to tell me who these people were. And they were Congress members, they were school board members, they were city judges. They were not like federal government people. And a lot of those people look like me. Some of them were younger, some, you know what I mean? So all different ethnicities from Hispanic to Black to white. And my whole life, I just thought it was these old, crusty people in Washington. I never knew. And I think with me, or I just think with human nature, once something is revealed to you, that's not how you just always have known it to be, it sparks a level of curiosity, wait, because everybody I know thinks this way. And so why is it this way? Who's trying to promote it to be this way? What are the obstacles for these people to get the voices, to get people to care and to listen to them. So it kind of started there in the beginning, and that's where I made the song, My Vote Don't Count. After the song and after just going around and seeing those different people, I talked to so many politicians just between 2020 and 2021. And that was kind of my research. It was really real life research. I got to see where they were counting votes at. I got to see, I got to talk to people who had just got bills passed to make a township a city. You know what I mean? And and I started to see these things and how it could benefit and hurt people just by people voting and not voting. And the passion just really came from being in the field, to be honest.
And how old are you now?
I'm 27.
Oh, Lord. Okay. You're so young. You're a baby. Okay. What is your own personal level of education? Did you go to college? Did you not go to college? And when did the music start?
Okay, so I did 1 year in at Central State University of college, but I didn't finish college. So music has started when I was a kid. Like I started making music when I was 7 years old. I was just influenced by the people around me and the hip hop culture. And I was, just wanted that life. I wanted the money, the cars, clothes, girls, etc.
Wait, really? Is that how it started for you? Okay, so because one thing that stuck out about you to me is that you're like on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, right? And what I'm noticing with your guys' generations is that there is, especially in social media and in entertainment, there's a drive to see what you guys can get from the world rather than a desire to use your life to give something to the world. Okay. And you fit into the latter category. So when did you have that epiphany that you wanted to actually use your art to give rather than to get?
Yeah. So I started making music so early. When I say, like I said, I was 7, I wasn't, the most like popular kid, you know what I'm saying? I was broke, and my older cousin, he was staying with us at the time, and he got like all the girls loved my cousin. He had more money than I had ever seen. I was 7, so even like $500 in $20 bills just like rich to me, and he rapped. So I got easily influenced by that, and I wanted to be like him at the time. And that's really where I got started into it. But I was a very smart kid. Like I won a lot of spelling bees, so I was very into words. And and as I dove into the music, it started to become therapy for me. Like as I was going through the things, it became more of a emotional expression than it was me trying to get something. I kind of even lost sight of why I started it in the first place. And it was a time period around maybe 12, 13, 14 years old where I felt like just writing music was all I had, and I kind of blocked out the world around me. And I was like, I want to be a famous rapper. Like that was my mindset. And I put all my emotions into the music. I think what really made it become a philanthropic thing, or like a thing where I really made it my mission to help people, is that as it helped me, just seeing the feedback, to be honest, around I think 2017, I was always doing emotional music, but around 2017 was like the first time I had really went viral, and I got people calling me and telling me like, yo, that song, it changed my life. Like, you don't understand, I was going through this, and now I feel like I can keep going. I feel like I can be stronger, and just seeing the power in music and knowing the impact that my music had on me, and seeing that impact was transparent across other people, I realized that it was a tool to help people in their everyday lives, and it became so much more important than those shallow things that I desired in the beginning.
Right. Well, I feel like people lose sight of the fact that rap, it means rhythm and poetry. Right. It became co-opted and so corporate, and it became something other than what it was originally. Like I'm Gen X, so I saw what it was in the 80s and in the early 90s. And I feel like your music, your lyrics are truly rhythm and poetry.
Thank you. And I think also, the type of rappers I was listening to as well probably influenced, because even though I wanted the money, clothes, cars, and girls, that wasn't the stuff I was listening to get through my hard times. I was listening to real conscious artists, coming up. So that probably helped as well.
So who were you listening to when you were young?
I listened to, it was a wide variety, because I'm not just strictly listening to hip hop. Like I listened to a lot of different genres, but specifically in hip hop, it was a lot of the more, let's say, just like the deeper artists. So it was like Rakim and let me see, Ludacris was like, I know Ludacris got a lot of fun songs, but he got a lot of introspective records as well. Cassidy, and then Meek Mill became my favorite rapper, like when I really, really got tied into it, and he kind of talked from the struggle and the overcoming of it. And I think a lot of those artists that just talk about like from, the beginning to the limelight, but it's a little bit more deeper when they go into more details. And those are the artists that I like listening to.
So you said something that reminded me of one of the the songs and one of the videos that I watched this morning. I watched your video, The Real Reason Why Men Cheat.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because when people say things like, well, I want to get girls.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what does that mean? Like, what does it mean you want to get girls? Does it mean you want to really forge a genuine connection with somebody? Or does it mean that you want to get it like it's like a possession, like just another item or just something else to check off on the list? Yeah. Right. So that's really interesting to me because you break it down and you're like, we are conditioned as boys from the time that we're really young, that the more women you conquer, like the more women you have sex with, the more like, how would you put it? Like put it in your own words.
What I would really call it is just self-validation. You know what I mean? Okay. I think as a kid, you know, you just get you thrown into the world. You don't have that much knowledge. All you know is just what kids know. And when everybody values you based upon how other people value you, and if people value you based upon the amount of attention you get from females, you think that, hey, if I'm going to be somebody, if I'm going to have purpose in my life, if I'm going to be, if I'm going to feel good about myself, I need to be in that race, you know. And even at 12, 13 years old, you know, like I'm from the hood, like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
the young dudes, they just bragging about, you know, how many girls they had sex with. I had never even thought about having sex before, you know, just even being just thrown into the culture of just that fast pace, like everybody's trying to get something. So it became that type of chase. And as a kid, you know, you
right.
Figure out, how can I conquer by any means necessary? How can I not be lame? How can I not be corny? You know, and that's what happens, you know, to a lot of us. So, you know, as we get older, some of those patterns from even being children, you know, they stain us and it becomes a part of our personality.
It makes sense because if you're conditioned from the time you're a little kid to associate having sex with more women as like the reward centers in your brain, you know, light up like any other reward system in your brain, then you're going to be, it's in the subconscious. You're going to have that reward system set up in your brain. But then the question that begs the question, like, were you ever taught what it means to be a boyfriend, to be a husband, to be a father? And I'm talking about a lot of men in general. I'm not talking about you, but because it's interesting. Like in my culture, like I come from the Jewish culture, right? And I mean, obviously, look, men are men, women are women, and we all objectify each other to a degree, or like none of us would be here. Exactly. You know what I mean? But I think like in my culture, there's a lot of importance placed on what it means to be a husband, like what it means to be a father, what it means to be a family man. And there's like a lot of value placed on that. There's like a reward system placed on that in addition to the other stuff. And so I just find that interesting because I wish that all boys were taught like there's value in having a long-term relationship. There's value in having a partnership. There's value in being a husband, you know?
And I think we learned that more now. It's becoming more popularized. And I think to me, a lot of people think like social media is like the demise of like the world, but to be honest, I think it's access to information that we would never have got outside of our homes. A lot of things that were not exposed, and the only way you would be exposed to something was television, you know. And now you can hear somebody like me, you know, or you know, The Real Reason Why Men Cheat. You can hear that song at 12, you know what I mean? And scrolling on YouTube, and you know, it's a lot different. You have access to truth. You have access to so much more information and so many more influences, negative and positive, but it's way more of a choice now. And it's not just whatever you intake, that's all you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I actually, I wanted to ask you, since Thanksgiving is coming up, you have another song about Thanksgiving that's pretty brutal. Like, I mean, that it's like, it's so funny because in the video you broke it down so well, where people are like, well, what are we thankful for? And we're having turkey and sitting with family, and it's like, it's so wholesome. And you're going into like the history of everything. Exactly. I mean, do you have a bone to pick with Thanksgiving? Like, do you celebrate Thanksgiving?
Not anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, I definitely have a bone to pick with it. And it's just that thing, like sometimes it's just like voting with me, like I didn't know nothing about it. So I never really had a stance on it. And then once you do the research and you find out what's going on, how can you ever support it the same way that you did before? You know what I mean? And as I was doing research, I was reading books, I visited Indian villages, I had Zoom calls with like Native Americans, people who are, still in their own Indian reserves that are, like that know their own history. And I because I don't just go out and just start talking about anything without having, information and history. And the more I found out, it just kind of got sick to me. And it was like, okay, so where in translation, like how did this become permanent history for us? And yeah, so once I found that out and I realized that I had to, make a statement about it. And I think with Thanksgiving, it gets so crossed up, right? Because there are these traditional fall harvests that have been happening forever, and I think we got, in America, it just kind of got all of these different holidays kind of just got tied into the one that was celebratory based around, murder, you know what I mean? And successfully overtaking the country. So yeah, so I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. And if it's something I could do, I will at least want to just break apart the tradition of Thanksgiving and maybe just have another holiday. I love the aspect of family, but and when you start talking about taking away, first off, food, what I'm saying? Talk about taking that out of people's lives and taking, the time, like sometimes the one time a year that people really get to see people in their family. And we only live once. So it's like, you even targeting this if people are getting joy from it? And it's like, oh, are you, but at the end of the day, when it's rooted in what it's rooted in, you can't ignore it. So it's like, okay, what is the alternative? And, I opt for, just another date, another name, and just to break that tradition, because it's just kind of like how the Washington Redskins had to change, into the Washington Commanders. It's just that thing. Like, let's just take the brutal history out of it and make it something fresh. That's it.
You know what? You have a point. Yeah. You have a point, because even when like, I'm sure you've seen like a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to watch you've never seen, well, because you're young, you've never seen any of the Charlie Brown movies, like Charlie Brown Halloween, Charlie Brown Christmas, Thanksgiving.
I'm familiar with Charlie Brown, and I've seen like in the newspapers and stuff, but I never like actually watched. So
you have to watch a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, because it goes into this cute little thing about the Pilgrims and the Indians sitting down and eating together. And, it's like everything is so whitewashed. Everything is like, it teaches kids something. It teaches a narrative that's just really not true. And that's just like one of many examples, but that was a really famous one when I was a kid. But you make a good point that maybe it should just be a family day, and it shouldn't be about like the history of what it all is. I mean, do you think that in our society, in our country, there's a sense of entitlement about certain things? Or, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on the American mentality? I mean, like, what's the good? What's the bad? What do you like about the American way of life? What do you think could use some improving about the American way of life and our consciousness?
America. No, what I'll say is America makes up 5% of the world. And the whole world is entertained by America. Like, I talk to people in Africa, I talk to people in other countries, and everybody, they love American culture. We are the most like viewed group of people in the world, and I think because of that, in America, you don't look outward, you look inward, and we feel like what's here is kind of what it is. Like, this is our reality, and this is kind of all we know. So I think with that, there's a lack of what's the word, compassion for a lot of different things. And like you said, there is some entitlement. Like even when I think about something like Thanksgiving, right?
Mhm.
If you talk to somebody that is directly affected by it and their ancestors, are affected by it, they won't celebrate it. They like,
Mhm.
they talk down on Thanksgiving, and then it's just the same way, like you have like Black culture and there's things that we steer away from, you know what I mean? Because,
Yeah.
certain words and different things. And if it was our people, then of course they would, like they would shut it all the way down. And I think people are in like their own zone. It's like, if it doesn't affect me, it doesn't matter. And I think that's kind of the American way. We look at us and we don't look at everyone. And I think that's a mindset that I just
Yeah.
want to help change in the world, but especially America. I think it's just, we don't look left and right and for other people as much as we should.
Yeah. What is the hardest lesson you've ever learned, and how does it serve you today?
The hardest lesson I ever learned, and how does it serve me today? That's a very good question. The hardest lesson I've ever learned. I would say no, because you think about like the hard, because like, I've been through a lot of things. So it's like
I
a
know,
lot of
but
hard,
like something that really like it hurt. You know what I mean? Like it was a painful lesson.
a painful lesson. I think just probably speaking. I think like one thing that I have really learned is to just discern when you should speak, when you should share things, when you should just make your presence known in a room. I have, like sometimes when you have passion and you want to just be a part of culture and be a part of different things that people have going on, it's a lot of cringy moments that I think I've experienced just talking too much.
So
So
you were the cringy one in the
yeah,
situation.
yeah, of course, definitely. Yeah, just from because I think I just like to talk, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's just more of an enjoyment thing. When something sparks your excitement, you just kind of start speaking. I think that's one thing that I learned, like, is to just really think about what you say before you say it, because you can hurt people's feelings. You can, you know what I mean? Like those type of,
Yeah.
I think because I'm so emotionally, like, if I hurt somebody, it hurts me too. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
weighs a lot on me. So I think just learning to shut up. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the best advice you've received that you can think of?
The best advice. My mother's advice. She told me to dare to be different. And she said it my whole life. And sometimes it resonated and sometimes it didn't. But there has been a lot of times where I just, took that advice and it always worked out for me. When you look at like even like My Vote Don't Count or a song like that, it's
Yeah.
something that I originally shut it down. And once the passion came there, I didn't want to get pigeonholed, because I make a lot of, you kind of look through the catalog. So,
Mhm.
a lot of the emotional music, where I'm from, it's more popular to make lit music. And, I don't want to not be able to make fun music just because. So it's like, once you get into a certain category, it gets,
Mhm.
it gets scary. So I think, that was like one of those things like, I don't want to do it. But when you know how important something is, you have to dare to be different. And,
Yeah.
my mother's advice really saved me from a lot of, potentially harmful situations. And it also changed my life.
Yeah, because I think kids, and I have a middle schooler, I have an eighth grader, and kids want to fit in. Like they desperately want to fit in. And when you, I think sometimes try to teach them about the beauty and the opportunity about being your authentic self, being the unique person that God created you to be, not being like this person and this person and this person, it
Yeah,
just doesn't penetrate at first.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a famous historical period that you are fascinated with?
A period, I would probably say like 80s hip hop. I wasn't alive then, but but I'm fully fascinated with that. Yeah. But you mean historical, like
historical could be 80s. It could be 90s. It could be. I mean, I'm fascinated with 90s hip hop, right? But yeah, it could be hundreds of years ago. It could be a few decades ago.
Yeah, I mean, when you say history, because I know, like, I am fascinated with like a lot of times like Bible scriptures and those stories, just seeing how they apply in times today. And it's just different things that blow my mind, like even thinking about just like the boat stories. And it's like, yo, like there was like all the way 2,000 years ago, there were already boats created, and just thinking about technology and how it was built and, you know, stuff like that. So Bible stories, and then I guess from there all the way up to hip hop. I think those are probably like the two. Like, I guess, you know, Bible is like subjective history, but it was like definite documented history, like the 80s for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything in history that you would have loved to witness in person, firsthand?
It's about to sound crazy, all right, but like the crack era, just because of it's just such a culture that I never, like, I didn't see. Like, so like my parents, they tell me the story of like when they had moved to the projects, and when crack cocaine had first hit the community, it was like a wildfire. Like people would be begging to like try to get the crack off. So you would pull into the neighborhood, and then like 5 people bang on your window, like, hey, I got this. Like they knew what it was going to do. And it was just like this crazy obsession with everybody trying to sell like the crack. And then just seeing how that went and turned into indictments, and seeing how it worked in the government, and just like that whole era just seems like, okay, so that's another era. I mean, it's still the 80s though, you know?
Yeah.
That's still all kind of, it's all tied into hip hop, because hip hop started to shift in that time into what it is now from what we first fell in love with. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely that period of time, I would like to just go there and just experience it, just to see like how it was, you know what I mean?
That's really interesting, because I wonder if that led to then in the 90s when Clinton got in, and he did the tough on crime thing where he started like mass incarceration of drug offenses. And what happened was it trickled down. So you had this like mass panic from crack, right? Yeah. And then the fear trickled down to the point where they were putting people in prison for 20 years for selling weed. So it's very interesting how it created like this fear and this hysteria. And like it was like a row of dominoes, like one thing led to another.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating. Like, because I was already like into the hip hop culture aspect of it, and just, you know, watching like drug movies and just seeing how it operated in that time period. And then once I got into politics and seeing that, like it kind of tied together, and it became this whole thing. Like, wait, so, you know, there was, you know, people documented where police would put it on, you know, young people, but then also like just seeing how the government works, because like with Clinton, and this is my opinion, I don't really share political opinions too much, but it just kind of goes into what I was saying in the documentary. It's that thing of where politicians work for the people who vote for them, you know. And it was a very, very popular thing to say, you know, I want to be tough on crime. It still is, you know what I mean? But when you said back in the day, it issued a level of protection that made a lot of people vote for that person. So I think Clinton kind of he made an emotional decision, or really decision to, if I'm going to get elected, I have to say what the people who are voting, you know, want and want to hear. And I think that's kind of like that first little like clear example of how the system works. Whoever is voting, the person in power is going to some capacity pander to them to get their votes, and then they have to be held accountable for the things that they said, which means he signed a crime bill. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing. So it's such a like it all kind of like works together, and it's a fascinating story.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting too, and this is circling back to your documentary, is that we all get so caught up in the theater of the presidential race every 4 years. And everybody has like a dog in the fight, and everybody watches the debates, and everybody, not everybody, but so many people come out to vote. And I can't help but wonder, because you really got me thinking, is that done by design so that the people in Congress can just sort of, you know what I mean? Just be like, nothing to see here, because they just want to stay in and just keep reaping the benefits for years and years to come.
I think partially it's done by design, but then I also think it comes to like monetary resources. You know what I mean? Like a president's budget to make sure anybody knows that he is running for president is 500 times more than a school board member's budget to make sure everybody knows that they're running for the school board. So when you're talking about somebody who has, a $500 million budget to run for president, and then you have somebody who has a $6,000 budget, it's no way that, the focus is going to be on who's choosing what school lunches the kids are. You know what I mean?
Yes, that makes sense. So I want to ask you a spiritual question.
Of course. Do
you pray? And if so, who or what do you pray to?
So I'm a Christian. So I pray every day, all day, not day by day, but moment by moment before everything. You know what I mean? I pray before this interview. I'm going to pray after it's over with. Like, that's just, and I pray to Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. Okay.
Do you pray for things? Do you pray in gratitude? Do you pray for the world? Like, what do you typically focus on?
Like I said, it's moment by moment more so than it is day by day. So I pray for things. I pray like in gratitude. I thank God all the time. Like anytime something like good news, the first thing I do is I thank God before I personally celebrate. I thank God. And I, because of the type of music I make, especially, and I come from a really big family, so that has to be my first response in so many different circumstances. People tell me, hey, I'm going through this and such, and I don't have the resources to change everybody's life. So what can I do? I know who does have the resources. So, and, I instantly go into prayer, so I pray for people. I pray for situations. I pray in gratitude. It's moment by moment.
And you're from Toledo, Ohio?
Dayton. Oh, don't do me like
Dayton, Ohio. I'm sorry.
Nah, you good.
Where do you reside there currently, or are you traveling around a lot?
I live in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, you live in Atlanta. Okay. So what is your home city like? I mean, and has it changed over the years? And what was the dynamic there growing up?
It's a small town, you know what I mean? Or a small city. So the part that I've experienced is like small city, small town mentality. So, like I will say this, I haven't met the level of friendliness from the people in my hometown anywhere else in the world. But, as far as resources, as far as opportunity, I don't see a lot of that. I didn't see a lot of that. It was tough. You know what I mean? Like I said, I grew up in a house with like a lot of siblings. And when I say a lot, it's not even a defined number, because I had the type of parents that just show love to anybody that needed. So, it wasn't a whole lot of resources, and, it was difficult. You know what I mean? It's, you even go into like the major grocery stores, like the Walmart, it's 20 minutes out. 20, 30 minutes out from the, the heart of the city. So it's like that type of thing. So,
okay. And the song No Support, it doesn't seem like that was your personal experience. No. Because it seems like your mom was just like your biggest cheerleader. So where'd you get that from?
So No Support is, what it is really just trying to tell people that people don't really support you until you support you. And my mom did support me, but nobody can believe in you with their resources, especially, until there's something to get behind. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I forgot what artist, it was a rapper that said this, but like they said, I don't buy Jordans because I support Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? I buy
Yeah.
because it's hot. I like the way it look on my feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that type of thing. You know, if you want that level of support, a lot of times you have to earn it. And to earn it, you have to make it cool yourself. You have to put in a certain level of groundwork, and then people will rally behind your personal efforts, you know. But if you don't have any efforts and you just kind of want the head start, and it might be rough for you, especially if you don't come from a place where it's an abundance of that.
Okay. I
Yeah.
get that.
My mom definitely supported me, but you know, I come from a city without a lot of support for sure. It was definitely a battle, you know. So it's some of my story in there and personal realizations along the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where'd you get your name from? Where does YelloPain come from?
So it comes from the type of music that I make. I'm not gonna tell you my old rap name because I still got to delete some video. My old rap name wasn't as cool, right? So I needed a name to represent the type of music I make, and the music I make is I think it's pretty enjoyable, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I put a lot of my life story and my pain into it, but you don't listen to it to cry, you know what I mean? You listen to it for joy. And yellow is a color that represents happiness. And pain represents everything I've ever been through. So YelloPain is a happy representation of my pain. Basically just meaning stay strong no matter what.
I love that.
Thank you.
Okay. What do you think you came into this life to learn? And what do you think you came here to teach?
That's a great question. You know, every now and then, I think my purpose is one thing, and then it goes into another thing. And then it goes into another thing. Like I thought like I was gonna be like this super lit rapper. And then I made a song. The first time I ever went viral, I made a song about drug addiction. My uncle had just recently passed. And it was just like I live in a community where it was the #1 city for drug overdose and deaths. Like it was like people overdose right outside my front door. You know what I mean? So it was those type of experiences that made me passionate about that subject matter. And then I was performing and flying around to different rehab facilities around, you know, America. And I thought like, okay, maybe like this is my call. Maybe God is calling me to, you know, to be, you know, compassionate for people struggling with addiction. But as I continue, it went into another place, and then it went to another place, and then now it's the voting space, and even in the voting space, it was the song, but now like it's a documentary. So I'm like, wait, now it's film. So just to say all that, I don't believe in one purpose. You know, I believe in assignments, and I think God puts us all on assignments, and so I take every assignment seriously, and I try to execute it to the best of my ability.
What do you consider to be a false idol?
A false idol, you know, biblically it was actual carvings and stuff like that. But nowadays, I look at a false idol as anything that you use instead of God to get through situations that is not from him. So a false idol could be jewelry. It could be, you know, something that you try to use to make yourself, you know, to create a system of security. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think that type of stuff is a false idol. But yeah, it's still even the same to the same capacity. You know, anything, you know, like actual false idols, like people really worship other things than God. You know what I mean? So yeah, those are, to me, based on, you know, my religion, those are false idols.
Okay. And where and when can people see Simplified?
So the documentary right now, we're doing private screening. So we're going around. Okay. So we're doing different universities and colleges and stuff like that. But right now we're just waiting on a perfect platform to make sure it has the biggest impact.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are you looking at the different streaming services, or are you meeting with anyone?
Yeah, we're in communication with a lot of different streaming services and platforms. And ideally, to be on all of them. But we just really want to make sure that, because this is not something that, we're just trying to get out, and that's why it's not out. It wasn't out before the midterm election, because forever America has needed tools to get people interested in voting and to understand the process. Nobody's teaching it. Nobody's young enough for people to even care to listen to is teaching it. And so, we got to be patient and make sure that this message is really delivered.
And how did you hook up with DJ Mannie Fresh? And tell me about the EP that you made recently.
Yeah, so first off, I feel like that was manifested. Like before even My Vote Don't Count blew up like it did, I had did a freestyle like right before that year started, and it was I was rapping on a Mannie Fresh beat, and I said in 2020 I'm a blow, and I didn't even know that it was actually how it was going to happen. I was just rapping and really like passionate. I was dressed like Mannie Fresh in the thing, and long story short, after everything blew up and it was time to transition from just the political music back into, like the emotional music that I make and the self-help music, I wanted to just keep it lit, you know what I mean? And me and my management team was thinking about like, who could we work with that is going to take this, just take this music to the next level. And one of my managers had a great relationship with Mannie Fresh, and he was excited about it. And it just once I linked up with him, it was magical. And I know we still gonna even work beyond that EP.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you independent, or are you working with a label, or like what are you doing business wise?
No, I'm fully independent. I have my management team, Crescent Productions, and that's it. Like I'm independent right now, anyway. Okay.
When people refer to you as a viral sensation, right, which is kind of like grassroots. Tell me do you think was the secret sauce to the fact that happened to you?
To going viral?
Yep.
I think first off, you have to have some level of, talent and skill in what you're doing. If you're going to go viral for the right thing, for the right reason. But aside from that, I think it comes down to authenticity, to be honest. I think I speak about a lot of things that people probably wouldn't speak about, because why would I put that in a rap song? You know what I mean? Why would I, like I think it just really comes down to authenticity to me. That's always viral. It's original and it's authentic. Anything you see viral is viral because you've never seen it before. And it's, it throws you off some kind of way. And I think that's just what's happening.
Good definition. Good answer. That makes so much sense.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you so much for your time. It was so exciting to sit down and talk with you, because you're so talented and you have so much wisdom in your lyrics for such a young man. And this was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I really appreciated this interview. It was different than a lot of the same copy and paste interviews. Like, you are great at your job, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you. Same to you.